Creative Magic Club. What's up? This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a six-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Creative Magic Club. I'm super excited to introduce my guest today. We have Kathlyn Tan, known as the business coach for Misfits. She empowers non-conformists across the globe to create success tailored to their lifestyles. Before coaching online, she was a cross-cultural business and communications consultant who worked with executives from all over the world and coached over 1,000 professionals. Within 2 years of coaching, she's been featured in Forbes magazine, HuffPost, Elephant Journal, Pick the Brain, and Addicted to Success. And she was the only Asian woman featured in The Money Code and How to Crack It, a book that debuted at number 14 on Amazon. Maria, I'm so excited to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here, especially since this is about creative magic. And I really love magic. This is something that I'm all about. This is something that's part of my brand, part of my life, and part of my message.
I love it. So why don't we kick it off by you telling us, what's your story? How did you get to doing the work that you do today?
So, I am the typical misfit. I'm the atypical of everything, pretty much. I'm not the typical Asian. I'm not the typical, the image of people with women, the image of people with millennial, everything is pretty much non-typical for me. The only thing that makes me the same with people in my family is I'm entrepreneurial. But the way I do business is still very, very different from everybody. The way I see, I live my life, the way my values, my integrity, all of that is very different. So my story started with just being different and learning how to be okay with that difference. And not just learning, but realizing that difference, it's when we own our difference that we can really make a difference in the world. Right? A lot of times being different is something that we aspire to become. But to own it, to have the courage to really embody that difference is hard. Especially, I think, in today's world where you have to have an opinion on polarized, let's say, things in the world. Right now, I think issues about anything, politics, society, wealth gap, philanthropy, it's very polarized and you're put on the spot to give an opinion. And I think right now to have a different take can be very challenging because people are fearful of being canceled, of being criticized, of being challenged. But what people don't realize is that we need to really allow ourselves to share our different perspective or take or voice or whatever, because that's where the magic is. We have to show a different voice. We have to share a different perspective, idea, thinking, because this is how we challenge the status quo. This is how we show, there is another way of doing things, of being, of becoming, and that we are really able to create the life that we want, the business that we want, and we can really create that ecosystem around who we are.
I love the way that you describe that. And I'm sure many people who are listening can identify with that feeling that you don't really fit in and having to navigate through that discomfort to really give yourself permission to actually be yourself and, risk being misunderstood, risk being judged, risk being criticized, risk being disagreed with. And I know you travel a lot and you lived in many different places, as have I. And I think the biggest gift for me in that experience has been, for example, particularly with me when I moved to Montreal, well, I moved to Vancouver before that, but particularly in Montreal, where there's people from all over the world, the predominant language is not my language. And it really, there was not many people there like me. And that sort of gave me the freedom to just be me. Because I think a lot of the time when we're surrounded by other people who are kind of similar to us, we sort of fall into that
Yes.
those behavior patterns of like trying to fit in, trying to be accepted, trying, to just go with the status quo because that's easier and more comfortable. And when I had nobody around me who was like me, there was nobody to kind of follow. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to be myself. And it really gave me that freedom because, everyone thought I was a weirdo anyway, because I had an English accent and I was in Montreal. So everyone would be like, who are you? What are you doing here? Like, what is this sound coming out of your mouth? So, and I think it just naturally allowed me to just do what I felt like, say what I really thought, and that just opened up so much more freedom to me. And I know, you can probably speak to that because I know you've lived in so many different places, and you're back in the Philippines now, which is where you're from. But I'm sure that's contributed a lot to your expertise and your real understanding of what it feels like to just be yourself.
I think one thing that I want to add there is humans have this tendency to lean towards a collective identity, right? That's why environment really affects us at a very, very unconscious level. So let's say if you are in a familiar territory, meaning you're with your friends, you're the people that you grew up with 20 years ago, it's very easy to be part of that collective identity. Now, in your case, when you went to Montreal, everybody around you is different. So the collective identity is different. So being different, right? So that also gave you that permission. So in terms of like having that difference and owning that difference, sometimes, especially when you're just awakening or unlayering or shedding pieces of yourself or unmasking your real identity, it's actually very important to have a different circle, a circle where you allow yourself to be open to difference too, because that collective identity of that difference will also subconsciously allow you to just say what you understand, to not be so conscientious of what you say, what you think, what you do, because that is an identity shared right now with that new circle that you have or environment that you have. So for me to have that freedom, that liberation to be different, sometimes we have to venture off an uncharted territory so that we can be free. Because sometimes if we are in an environment that is extremely familiar, it's hard to be different, to embrace that difference and to have that courage to be different, because it's like if everybody's wearing black shoes and you started wearing red shoes, right? Like you stand out, and people, like humans, are not wired to challenge the status quo. We're not wired to look for change. And actually the body perceives change as stress, even if it's something good for us, right? This is why when people go into, let's say, detoxing or when they try to create a new habit or a new pattern, there is a very big transition time that the body either needs more sleep or more rest to recalibrate to a different reality.
Yeah, it's so true. And I've really found every time I move, and I've moved a lot, from country to country, even like home to home, it's almost an opportunity for a blank slate, especially when you're
Yes.
changing time zones, because it's almost like you wipe your calendar clean, you wipe your like social calendar clean, and then you get to be really intentional about what is it that I want to bring in that's more in alignment with where I want to be going. Which is, it seems like a very drastic way to like, oh, I'm just going to move all the time. But I think if you're the type of person who innately has that within you, you're not satisfied with the status quo. And so, we tend to be the type of people who are seekers, who do move, who are always, you really enjoy being somewhere new and learning something different and, opening up to different parts of ourselves, which just happens when you experience different cultures.
I think the key here is also accepting that we're different, and that, when I've given several speeches, like internationally. I've been flown to give speeches, and one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how do you encourage your family to support you? Okay, like what do you do now if you want to do something different and your family or your partner or whatever, they don't support you, or your closest friends? And I always say, you have to understand first, the mere fact that you can think differently, it means that you come from an environment that allows for you to think differently. Because people, not everybody has that courage again to own that difference. But the mere fact that you can think differently, it means that your parents, your environment, your circle have some kind of freedom to do so. One, like it can be a small and minuscule, but if you really stay with it, then it is okay. If you don't go defensive about it, if you don't feel like you have to keep proving yourself, then that's fine. And I think the second thing that people need to remember, when you want to embrace that difference about you, when you want to really activate the magic in you, it's really important that you remember to focus on what you want to create versus where you are. Because I think people get that, why can't people support me now? Blah, blah, blah. And I often think, isn't what your present reality something you don't want anymore? So how can the people around you today, or the family that you have originally, if you do not resonate with how they live their lives, how can you expect them to support you if they cannot understand the choices that you're making? And for me, like, I don't expect my mom or my parents or my family to support any decision that I have. For me, as long as they accept me and they don't go out of their way to sabotage me. And what I mean by that is, let's say, you know how some families, they keep calling you nonstop? Like, I don't know, for the smallest things, right? In my family, people can just respect if I say something like, okay, I'm really busy, I have something to do, let's talk next week. And like, people really respect that. If you need to talk to me, please send me a message first. Like, just this simple thing, for me, that's enough. I don't need my family, my friends to be, hey Maria, you're doing a good job. I don't need a cheerleader, because I know that they don't really understand what I'm doing, right? Because that's why I'm different. So I think, like, that resistance of, why is it that people can't accept me? That sometimes for us to be accepted, we also need to accept other people and the difference that they have. Because if I'm different from them, they're also different from us. So when we surrender to that difference, that makes things easier for everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this, because it's such an important point. And one thing that I see coming up a lot, which I also experienced, is that it's that kind of like a lot. Well, first of all, a lot of resistance comes from feelings like we're breaking the patterns of our tribe, and like fear that we'll be left out, fear that we'll be alone, fear that we won't be able to connect to the people that we love the most. And another place that people slip up is like wanting to bring everyone along with you, and that kind of, and looking for approval in the wrong places, looking for support in the wrong places. And I think when a lot of people step out and they identify this desire and they want to do something differently, and there's still that part of us that's like a child that wants approval from our family, that wants approval from our parents, that wants to go to them to get the answers. And you have to recognize that you get to create new mentors, you get to create new people that you can look up to, that can support you, that can help you, guide you along the way that you want to go, the path that nobody in your family has ever trod before. And yeah, like you say, that acceptance has to first come as self-acceptance of, accepting who you are, accepting your desires, giving yourself permission to have them, and your difference. And, I love that you point that out, accepting that the people that you're different from are different to you. And, I think, and so much happens when you do that internal work and you accept yourself and you give yourself permission to support yourself and to receive support from wherever the place is that it's going to come from, outside of where maybe that lizard brain part of you wants it to come from. Because when you do that, your relationships naturally shift, like you say, to a place where you have really supportive and healthy boundaries and communication that works for everybody, regardless of your differences.
Exactly. And I think that's I think that's something that, again, people unconsciously fall trap into, like seeking that approval, wanting to prove ourselves over and over again. And it's the same with even right now, right? What's the norm right now? To be entrepreneurial, to start your own business, right? Like everybody wants to be your own boss or to be the CEO of their business, etc., etc. But I always caution people that business has been so romanticized right now, entrepreneurship, right? Like I've been an entrepreneur since I was 6. Okay, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and even within my family, whenever like a cousin, a family member asks me my input on a certain business idea, I really caution them very well to think about it, especially if they're going to drop millions into it. The reason is I always tell people it's not that I don't support new ideas. Actually, no, I am the business coach for Misfits, right? So I'm very much about creating entrepreneurship, creating that vision. But for me, it is about really articulating the difference you want to make, or at least being very clear on the path you're taking. But what happens is I think people get into that, she's just opened her business, she just opened her business, let me do that as well. Because people don't talk about failures that much. People talk about how beautiful their photo shoot was, or their logo is, or their, I don't know, the last sale that they had. But people are not really very open about their expenses, or how much debt they incurred, or how many nights they haven't slept well because they couldn't they couldn't get the right contract, or they were burning midnight oil, or how much burnout they've experienced. So it's really that thing about, we have to be really checking in constantly with ourselves. Am I doing this because this is really what I want? Or am I doing this because I think this is the only way to do something? Right? I think that's because, again, when we're talking about magic, creative magic, difference, all of these words, they are all beautiful. But it is about you being authentic and you being different and owning that difference. And that means, one, that you become the creator of your reality, which is very hard because, like you said, there's some part of us that always goes into, I need the approval of my parents, I need the approval of someone else. Number two, as a part of us that really reflects on, what am I changing here for myself? Why am I doing all this, right? Sometimes I think people go too much into the why and forget that what is as powerful, that what change am I creating, right? What vision am I making? And the third one, and the most important, is that to follow everything on our own timeline. I think like everybody thinks, I think everybody buys into this romanticized vision of entrepreneurship where one day you're in the garage, the next day you're in the Fortune 500 building, right? One day you're in six-figure debt, and the next day you're a billionaire, right? There's no such thing as the next day. I always tell people there's no such thing as overnight success. There is overnight momentum, because the moment you really embrace what you're doing, success is just at the corner.
And what would you say that you really wish people knew from your journey, from, some of the biggest struggles that you've faced and overcome, particularly as a woman, particularly as an Asian woman, speaking to other women out there who are, on this journey or thinking about stepping into this journey? What is it that you really wish that they knew?
You can only make real impact in people's lives by being different. Because think of it this way. If everybody is the same, how can someone remember you? Everybody today wants to make impact, right? That's what you hear all the time. I want to know my purpose. I want to really help people. At the crux of everything, we just want to be people that can pay forward, right? To matter, to create a difference in someone's lives. But if we're saying the same thing, we're doing the same thing, we're copying everybody else, how can we make a difference? We don't make a difference by being the same. We make a difference by being different. And I think that's something that people forget. It's not the words that we use. It's not the logos that we have. If you're an entrepreneur, it's not your branding that matters. It's your kindness. It's your energy. It's your compassion. It's how you treat people that makes that difference. Because just a smile from you can make someone's lives. And that was something that will not be forgotten by this person who's just having a bad day. I think people want the very big version of creating impact. But impact, again, is created only through us being authentic to who we are and what makes us different, what makes us magical, what makes us stand out. Because people remember something different, right? If everybody is treating that person cold and you become warm to that person, the person will remember the warmth. The person will not remember what you're wearing, but the person will remember the warmth that you gave that person. So that's one thing that I want to really hone into and to remind people of, that there's no grandeur in impact. I think people think impact is about donating 5 million. It's not about the grandiose of everything. It is simple things that makes you different, that makes you happy, that makes you purposeful, that makes you magical, that makes you just you. Those are the things that people will remember.
I love that. That's such a powerful message. And it's so true because in entrepreneurship, particularly as, you know, like a solo entrepreneur or like small business owner, personal brands like coaches, where you really are the face of your company, it's not possible to succeed unless you are yourself, like you say, because
Yes.
it's not possible to stand out. It's not if you're copy and pasting or trying to be different to somebody else, because you get lost in the noise, and that really is your superpower, is your uniqueness. And, you know, particularly, I think the thing that was really powerful for me to realize is that you don't need, you know, obviously depending on your business, but particularly for something like coaching, where you are doing that really personal, high touch, really deeply supportive work, you don't need that many clients to have a great business that gives you the life that you want. And so all you need from this world of, you know, 7 billion plus people is a handful of people, and the people who are going to most want to pay you and most want to work with you and get the most from working with you, and that are going to be the most fun for you to work with, are the people who resonate with you because you're you. And they're the people who are going to pick you over the next person who's doing the exact same work as you are, because you're you, because of your journey, because of everything that makes you unique, because of where you're from, because of what you look like, or, you know, whichever of those pieces that really resonate with them and help them to feel that if you can, you know, make your dreams possible, then that's possible for them too. So and it's just such an empowering philosophy because it makes everything so much more simple. It means you don't have to overthink things.
Yes.
You don't have to learn 10 billion strategies. You just get to look inside and ask, well, like, how do I want to do this? Like, what do I think is the best way to do it? What's going to be the best way for me and my lifestyle and my desires and the things that, you know, I desire to see in the world, the impact I desire to make, and trust that there's going to be enough people out there who will, you know, be a part of that mission with you and become your clients and help you to make that impact through the work that you're doing in your business.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to add with what you said, where you said it's not about having so many clients to be successful. It's just a matter of handful. I want to add something there. It's not even a handful of clients. The moment we pick ourselves, that's when we are successful. It's because, see, all these things, right? Clients, all of that is an external validation. But people feel what we bring to the table, right? The energy that we bring, the way we say something, they matter, the way that our perspective. So the moment we really have that internal shift of, you know what, I have something different, that is the moment you've become successful. It's not the clients, it's not sales, it's not, you understand, it's not getting featured on Forbes. It's that internal shift that, wow, I have something different to share with people. Or not even, wow, I have something different to share. We don't need even those superlatives. Just by that, accepting that we are different and that we are in our right to claim a space in this world, to have our voice shared, to be seen as an expert, to be seen of value. That for me is more magical than anything else. Like there is really nothing else that we need, because the moment we do that, the rest of the world will catch up with that belief and that energy that we're projected, that mindset, and we can see those tangible results then, the clients, the features, the published articles, the whatever. Those will come, the 6-figure, 7-figure, the big team. Those are easier to come with. But that internal shift needs to happen really from within.
Such a powerful message. Thank you so much for sharing all of your incredible wisdom with us today. For anybody who's watching who would love to follow your work and learn more about you, where can they find you?
They can really follow me on Instagram. It's my second home. I share a lot of like carousels, a lot of metaphors. I love metaphors. And I hope it's okay with you, Sarah. I want to end something with just one small metaphor.
Go for it.
Think of coffee. Everybody drinks coffee, or everybody knows about coffee. Even the people that are not drinking coffee knows coffee, right? So just think of this. Everybody knows coffee. Now, even if everybody drinks coffee, knows how to make coffee to some extent, even though coffee is accessible today in the market, just buying an instant coffee, a brewed coffee, whatever. Imagine the number of coffee shops that open on a daily basis in the world. And why? Because the world is never saturated. The world is never full or saturated for you. The world is never not ready for what you have to give. The world is never not ready to hear your voice. The world is never not ready for your distinct taste, because you may know how to make coffee, but the moment you open your coffee shop, I am very sure it will taste very different for someone else. It will be very different from a Starbucks coffee, from Coffee Bean, or coffee from anywhere, because that's how you made it. That's how you made it special. That's how you shared with your coffee with the world. That's something that you need to remember. So I am very much on Instagram, and I have created a free quiz for people who are thinking about opening their own business or already started their business but want to up level, called How Much of a CEO Are You? The links are here, but this is a way for you to have an internal check of where you are and what else is needed, because entrepreneurship is a world. It's not, I know that there are people that are still solopreneurs, but it is a big world. It's not something that you can do by yourself. It takes a village to create greatness. It takes a village to create the perfect coffee, right? It's you at the leadership of all that. But someone needs to pick that coffee bean. Someone needs to deliver that. Someone needs to create the mug that it's going to be poured into. So that quiz is a good way for you to gauge what gaps do you need to fill in your business, or what your strengths are as well, for you to focus on that, and which areas of the business you can seek support in.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much. And just mention your website for people who are listening.
Oh, it's Maria, Maria -Tan, TAN.com.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and have an amazing day. For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com, and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.